My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 72 years old, and my daughter-in-law tried to murder me with poison tea while her own mother sat at the same table, completely oblivious that she was about to become collateral damage in a scheme to steal everything I'd spent 5 decades building. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and comment below where you're watching from, because what I'm about to tell you will make you question every cup of tea, every family dinner, every smile from someone who's supposed to love you. Let me take you back 9 months. 9 months before that cup of tea, before the smell of bitter almonds disguised by chamomile, before I watched my daughter-in-law's mother convulse on my kitchen floor while my son stood there with guilt written all over his face. I need you to understand who I am first, who I was, because that matters when you're trying to comprehend how a 72-year-old woman outmaneuvered two people 40 years younger, two people who thought age meant weakness, who thought white hair meant confused, who thought retirement meant irrelevant. I spent 43 years as a forensic accountant. 43 years. You know what that means? It means I've seen every scheme, every con, every clever little trick people use to steal money. I've testified in over 200 cases. I've sent embezzlers to prison. I've unraveled Ponzi schemes that fooled Harvard graduates. I've tracked money through shell corporations in 7 countries. I've sat across from people who smiled at me while lying through their teeth. And I spotted every single tell, every micro expression, every tiny inconsistency in their stories. One of those cases in 1997 involved cyanide poisoning, insurance fraud. The husband had dissolved potassium cyanide in his wife's evening tea. I studied that case extensively, learned every detail. I'm one of the 40% of people with the genetic ability to smell cyanide. That distinctive bitter almond scent, that ability saved my life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So when my son Michael and his wife Jessica moved into my house 9 months ago, you'd better believe I noticed things. You'd better believe I documented things, because that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I see patterns where other people see coincidence. I see motive where other people see misfortune. They came to me with tears in their eyes. Jessica was pregnant with their second child. Michael had just been laid off from his marketing job. But they were 3 months behind on their mortgage, foreclosure notices, creditor calls. They needed help just temporarily, just until Michael found new work, just until they got back on their feet. I'm not a monster. He's my son, my only child. I raised him alone after his father died when Michael was 12. I worked 60-hour weeks to put him through college. I helped with the down payment on their first house. I babysat my grandson every weekend. Of course, I said yes. Of course, I opened my home. My home. Let me tell you about my home, because that's what this is really about. That's what it's always been about. I bought this house in 1982 with my first real paycheck as a junior accountant at Morrison and Blake. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, quarter-acre lot in Maple Ridge. The good part of town, the part where property values only go up. I paid $87,000 for it. You know what it's worth now? $1.2 million. And that's conservative. The tech boom brought young families with money flooding into our neighborhood. Houses on my street get multiple offers within days of listing. I paid off the mortgage in 2001, 20 years ahead of schedule. Every extra dollar went to principal. I've refinanced twice, always to lower rates, never to cash out equity. The house is mine, free and clear. No liens, no loans, no obligations. I've maintained it meticulously. New roof in 2015, HVAC system replaced in 2018, kitchen remodeled in 2020, original hardwood floors refinished every 5 years. The basement is finished with a full bathroom and wet bar. The backyard has a deck I built myself and a garden that wins neighborhood awards. This isn't just a house. This is my retirement. This is my security. This is decades of 60-hour weeks and Missed vacations and brown bag lunches and sensible cars and compound interest in careful planning. So, yes, when Michael and Jessica moved in, I was generous, I was loving, but I wasn't stupid. The first 3 months were fine. Normal. Jessica was gracious. She cooked dinner twice a week. She helped with yard work. Michael was job hunting, sending out resumes, doing interviews. Their 4-year-old son, Tyler, was a delight. Jessica's pregnancy progressed without complications. I gave them the entire upstairs 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I moved myself down to the converted basement suite. It's comfortable down there, private. My own bathroom, my own entrance, my own small kitchen. I told them it was because the stairs were getting harder on my knees. That was partly true. Mostly, I wanted my own space. I wanted to observe without being observed. Month 4, things started shifting. Jessica stopped cooking. She stopped helping around the house. She started redecorating. Nothing major at first. New curtains in the living room, different throw pillows on the couch, a new rug in the hallway. She asked permission for each change, and I said yes, trying to be accommodating, trying to make them feel at home. Michael got a new job, finally, sales position at a software company. Not quite what he'd been making before, but respectable. Enough to start saving for a new place, enough to start planning their exit from my house. Except they didn't exit. Month 5, Jessica announced she wanted to homeschool Tyler. She needed the 4th bedroom as a classroom. I didn't love it, but I said okay. That room had been my office. I moved my desk and filing cabinets down to the basement. Michael's new job was going well, too well maybe. He started talking about team dinners and client golf outings and weekend retreats. He was gone more than he was home. Jessica was alone with Tyler all day, every day, homeschooling him, making herself comfortable in my house. She started buying things. A new coffee maker because mine was too basic. A different brand of dish soap because she preferred the scent. Organic milk instead of regular. Gluten-free bread. Expensive shampoo. Designer laundry detergent. She wasn't paying for groceries, mind you. I was still buying everything. But suddenly my grocery bill had doubled. I later discovered the reason for their spending habits. Michael had lost his previous job, not just due to layoffs, but because of performance issues tied to his gambling problem. He'd been betting on sports, losing consistently. Jessica had her own issues, a shopping addiction that had maxed out 5 credit cards. Together, they'd accumulated over $180,000 in debt. The new job paid well, but not nearly enough to dig them out of that hole. Month 6, she redecorated the living room without asking. Moved my furniture to the garage, bought all new pieces, leather couch, glass coffee table, abstract art on the walls. When I came home from my volunteer work at the library and saw it, she said, "Surprise! I thought the room needed updating. Don't you love it?" I didn't love it. I loved my old furniture, the couch where I'd read bedtime stories to Michael, the armchair where my late husband used to do crossword puzzles, the coffee table we'd refinished together. But they were in the garage now, covered with drop cloths. And Jessica was looking at me with this expectant smile, and Michael was saying, "Mom, it looks great, doesn't it? Jessica has such good taste." I said it looked nice. I went down to my basement suite. I opened a new file folder on my laptop. I titled it Documentation. Because here's what I knew from forensic accounting. When someone starts taking small liberties, they're testing boundaries. They're seeing what they can get away with. They're preparing for larger moves, and I was right. Month 7. Jessica was 7 months pregnant. Doctor said everything looked good. They were having a girl. They'd already picked out a name, Sophia. Jessica's mother, Patricia, started visiting more often. Patricia was 68, recently divorced, living alone in a condo 40 minutes away. She'd been a real estate agent before she retired. She and Jessica would spend hours looking at home design magazines, planning nurseries, talking about cribs and changing tables and color schemes. I'd come upstairs for dinner, and they'd be at my kitchen table with paint swatches spread out, discussing accent walls and wainscoting and crown molding for my house. They were planning renovations to my house. Just ideas, Jessica would say when she caught me staring. We're just having fun dreaming. But then contractors started showing up, giving estimates, measuring rooms. Jessica would introduce me as if I were her mother, as if this were her house, as if these decisions were hers to make. I started saying no, firmly, no contractors, no renovations, no more furniture removal. Jessica cried. She said I was being difficult. She said she was just trying to make the house nice for when the baby came. She said she thought I'd be happy to have help improving my property value. Michael took her side. He said I was being unreasonable. He said they were family. He said they were just trying to contribute. I held firm. My house, my rules. The atmosphere changed after that. Conversations became shorter. Smiles became forced. Jessica started spending more time upstairs in her space. Michael started coming home later from work. Month 8. This is when I started noticing the financial irregularities. I've always handled my own finances. I've never needed help. My bills are on auto pay. My investments are with Vanguard and Fidelity. My estate planning is up to date. Everything is organized, documented, backed up. But I started getting calls. My bank asking to verify unusual ATM withdrawals, $300, $500, cash withdrawals I hadn't made. I checked my account online, 7 withdrawals in 2 weeks. Total, $2,800. I called the bank. I reviewed the security footage they provided. The person using my card was Michael, my son, using my ATM card at machines across town. When I confronted him, he said I'd given him permission. He said I'd told him to withdraw cash for household expenses. He said I must have forgotten. I haven't forgotten a financial transaction in 5 decades. I keep receipts for coffee. I track every dollar. I did not give him permission. He apologized. He said he'd misunderstood. He said he'd pay me back. He transferred the money back into my account that same day. But the damage was done. The boundary was crossed. He'd taken my ATM card. He'd memorized my PIN. He'd helped himself to my money. I changed all my passwords that night. I ordered new bank cards. I set up 2-factor authentication on every financial account, and I watched. I documented. I waited. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my attorney, Benjamin Shaw. He'd been my lawyer for 23 years. He handled my estate planning, my will, my power of attorney documents. He was calling because someone had contacted his office requesting copies of my estate documents. They'd claimed to be calling on my behalf. They'd said I'd asked them to review my will, that someone was Jessica. Ben shut her down immediately, told her that only I could request my own documents, told her any changes to my estate would have to be made in person by me with proper identification and witnesses. Then he called me to make sure I knew, to make sure I hadn't actually authorized the request. I thanked him. I assured him I'd made no such request. I told him to flag my account to require in-person verification for any future inquiries. And then I called Jessica. I asked her very calmly why she'd contacted my attorney. She fumbled. She said Michael had mentioned I was thinking about updating my will. She said she was just trying to be helpful. She said she thought maybe I'd want help organizing my affairs before the baby came. I told her my affairs were perfectly organized. I told her to never contact my attorney again. I told her that if she had questions about my estate, she could ask me directly. She apologized. She blamed pregnancy brain. She said she was just trying to help. I didn't believe her. I've heard every excuse. I've seen every con. I know what someone sounds like when they're lying. Month 9. Jessica gave birth to Sophia, beautiful, healthy baby girl, 8 pounds, 2 ounces. Jessica's labor was quick, only 6 hours. Michael was over the moon, posting photos on social media, calling everyone he knew. I went to the hospital. I held my granddaughter. I felt that pure, uncomplicated love you feel for a newborn who hasn't done anything wrong, who's innocent in all of this. But even in the hospital, I saw the looks between Jessica and Michael, the whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room, the way Patricia would change the subject when I approached. They came home 3 days later. Suddenly, my house was full of baby equipment. Bouncer in the living room, play mat in the dining room, diaper changing station in the upstairs hallway, bottles and formula and pacifiers covering every counter. I didn't complain. I helped where I could. I did laundry. I held Sophia when Jessica needed to shower. I was being the grandmother I'd always wanted to be, but I was also watching. 3 months passed. Sophia was growing, thriving. Jessica had settled into a routine with the baby. Tyler was doing well with his homeschooling. On the surface, everything looked normal. But I was still documenting, still watching the financial accounts, still noticing small things. Then one afternoon, when Sophia was 12 weeks old, I went upstairs to refill my water bottle. Jessica was nursing Sophia in the living room. Patricia was there, sitting on the leather couch that had replaced my furniture. They didn't see me approach. They were talking quietly, but the acoustics in my house carry. I designed it that way back when Michael was a teenager, and I wanted to know if he was sneaking out. Patricia said, "You need to move faster. She's 72. She could change her will any day." Jessica said, "I'm working on it. Michael's trying the financial route first. If we can get power of attorney, we can..." That's when they saw me standing in the doorway. The conversation stopped. Jessica smiled. Patricia smiled. They started talking about the baby, about Sophia's feeding schedule, about nothing important. I filled my water bottle. I went back downstairs. I sat at my desk, and I made a decision. I wasn't leaving my house. I wasn't being forced out. I wasn't going to be the elderly parent who gets shuffled off to assisted living while her family steals everything she built. I was going to fight, but I was going to fight smart. The next morning, I called Ben Shaw. I told him I needed to update my estate plan. I scheduled an appointment for the following week. Then I called my accountant, Thomas Lee. Thomas had been preparing my taxes for 15 years. I trusted him completely. I asked him to audit my finances, every account, every asset, every transaction, going back 6 months. Then I called my doctor, Dr. Patel. I scheduled a full physical, blood work, cognitive screening, the works. I wanted documentation that I was healthy, competent, and fully capable of managing my own affairs. I was building a case. I didn't know exactly what I was defending against yet, but I knew I needed to be prepared. Thomas called me back 2 days later. He'd found something. Someone had attempted to add themselves as a joint owner on my primary checking account. The request had been initiated online using my login credentials. The bank had flagged it as suspicious because the IP address didn't match my usual location. They'd called my house phone to verify. Michael had answered. He'd confirmed that yes, he was supposed to be added to the account. The bank representative had said they'd need me to come in person to complete the process. Michael hadn't told me about the call. Thomas had also found 2 credit cards open in my name. Nothing Sathan had been charged on them yet, but the accounts existed. The applications had been submitted online with my information. Identity theft, financial fraud by my own son. I filed a police report. I froze my credit. I reported the fraudulent credit cards. I changed every password again. And then I waited for Michael to come to me to explain, to apologize, to admit what he'd done. He never did. Instead, 2 weeks later, I got a call from the county recorder's office. Someone had attempted to file a quitclaim deed transferring my house from my name to Michael's name. The document had been rejected because the signature didn't match my signature on file. They'd tried to steal my house. My son and his wife had forged my signature on a legal document transferring my property to them. I called Ben Shaw immediately. I was shaking with rage. Decades I'd worked to pay off this house, decades of every extra dollar going to principal, and they'd tried to take it with a forged signature. Ben advised me to move carefully. We had evidence of attempted fraud, but we needed to handle this strategically. If I confronted them directly, they might destroy evidence. They might make counter accusations. They might try to have me declared incompetent. He wanted me to evict them immediately, file charges, get restraining orders, but I overruled him. I told him I needed more evidence. I needed to catch them in something so undeniable, so prosecutable, that they couldn't wiggle out of it with claims that I was confused or senile. He didn't like it, but he agreed to wait. He made me promise to be careful, so that's what I did. I went about my routine, library volunteer work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, grocery shopping on Wednesday mornings, lunch with my book club on Fridays. I held Sophia. I complimented Jessica's cooking. I asked Michael about work, and I documented everything. I kept a daily log, times, dates, conversations. I installed a small security camera in my basement suite, pointed at the door in case they tried to enter when I wasn't there. I started keeping my important documents in a safety deposit box at the bank instead of in my home office. I also wore a small voice-activated recorder in my pocket whenever I was around them. I needed evidence of their conversations, their plans, their intentions. 3 weeks went by. The tension in the house was thick, but nobody addressed it directly. We were all pretending, all playing our roles. Then came the invitation. Jessica approached me on a Sunday afternoon. She was all smiles, bouncing Sophia on her hip. The baby was now 3.5 months old, past the hardest newborn phase, sleeping better at night. Margaret, she said, using my first name instead of Mom, like she used to. We'd like to have you for dinner this Friday, just family. Michael's been so busy with work, and I thought it would be nice for us all to sit down together. I'm making your favorite, pot roast. Something about it felt wrong. The forced cheerfulness, the specific mention of my favorite meal, the emphasis on just family, but I said yes because I wanted to see what they were planning. Actually, Jessica added, I invited my mom too. She's been such a help with the baby, and I thought it would be nice for both grandmas to be there together. Patricia, the woman who'd said I needed to be dealt with faster, the woman who'd discussed my will like it was a business transaction. Every instinct I had said this was a trap, but every lesson I'd learned in forensic accounting said you don't catch criminals by avoiding them. You catch them by giving them enough rope to hang themselves. That sounds lovely, I said. What time? 6 o'clock. I'll make something special. Something special. Those words echoed in my mind all week. Something special. What were they planning? I spent the week preparing. I charged my phone fully. I charged my voice recorder fully. I wore clothing with pockets deep enough to hold both devices. I reviewed my notes on their behavior, their patterns, their tells. On Friday afternoon, I called Ben Shaw and told him I was having dinner with Michael and Jessica. I told him if he didn't hear from me by 9 p.m., something was wrong. He asked if I wanted him to come to the house. I said no, not yet, but be ready. At 5:30, I went upstairs. The dining room table was set beautifully. Fine china I didn't recognize. Jessica must have bought it. Cloth. Napkins, candles, fresh flowers in a vase. Too nice, too formal for a simple family dinner. Jessica was in the kitchen wearing an apron, stirring something on the stove. Michael was opening a bottle of wine. Patricia was already seated at the table, wearing too much perfume and a dress that seemed excessive for pot roast. Margaret, Jessica called out. Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready. Why don't you have a seat? I sat across from Patricia. Michael poured wine. Jessica brought out the pot roast, and it did look delicious. Tender meat, roasted vegetables, gravy, steaming in a bowl. We made small talk. Tyler's homeschooling progress, Sophia's sleep schedule, Michael's work projects, Patricia's recent trip to visit her sister. Nothing substantial, nothing real, just words filling silence. Then, as Jessica was clearing the dinner plates, she said, I made us something special for dessert. Well, not dessert exactly, a special tea. My friend gave me this incredible blend. It's supposed to be calming and good for digestion. She disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a tea service, a ceramic teapot, 4 matching cups, honey, lemon slices. It's a chamomile blend with some special herbs, she said, pouring. My friend imports it from Europe. You can't get it in regular stores. She handed me a cup. The steam rising from it carried a floral scent. Chamomile, yes. But something else underneath, something that made my nose twitch. 43 years of pattern recognition had trained my subconscious to notice things before my conscious mind could articulate them. Something was wrong with this tea. Jessica poured for Patricia, for Michael, for herself. Let's all try it together, she said, sitting down with her own cup. To family, Patricia raised her cup. Michael raised his. Jessica raised hers. I raised mine but didn't drink. I brought it close to my face, inhaling deeply. Chamomile, honey, lemon, and underneath so faint most people wouldn't notice. Bitter. Almond? My blood went cold. Bitter almond. The telltale scent of cyanide. I'd worked on a case in 1997, an insurance fraud investigation. The husband had taken out a massive life insurance policy on his wife. 3 months later, she died of accidental cyanide poisoning. He'd dissolved it in her evening tea. The investigation revealed he'd been researching cyanide for weeks. He'd ordered potassium cyanide online through a company that supplied gold extraction hobbyists using a fake identity and elaborate backstory. The wife had complained of the tea tasting bitter. He'd added extra sugar and lemon to mask it. She died within 20 minutes. Seizures, difficulty breathing, cardiac arrest. The bitter almond smell is caused by the cyanide releasing hydrogen cyanide gas. Not everyone can detect it. There's a genetic component to the ability. Only about 40% of people have it, but I can. I always have been able to. That case taught me to never forget that smell, and I was smelling it now. In the tea my daughter-in-law had just served me, my heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. Decades of sitting across from criminals teaches you to control your expression. Never let them see fear. Never let them see that you know. To family, Patricia repeated, still holding her cup up, I had seconds to make a decision, seconds to think through the implications. If I refused to drink, they'd know I suspected something. They might panic. They might try something more direct, more violent. I was outnumbered 3-1 in my own house. If I drank, I'd be dead within the hour. If I confronted them, I had no proof. A smell isn't evidence. They'd deny everything. They'd say I was paranoid, confused, showing signs of dementia. They'd use it to push for guardianship. I needed evidence. I needed them to commit fully to this act. I needed them to reveal themselves completely, and I needed to survive. My eyes moved quickly across the table, cataloging everything. 4 identical cups, 4 saucers, the teapot in the center, Jessica's cup directly in front of her, Michael's to his right, Patricia's across from me. Mine in front of me. Jessica was watching me, waiting for me to drink. It smells wonderful, I said, buying time. What kind of special herbs did you say were in it? Oh, European herbs, Jessica said vaguely. Valerian root, maybe? My friend said it's very relaxing, helps you sleep. Valerian root doesn't smell like bitter almonds, but most people wouldn't know that. You'll love it, Margaret, Patricia added. Jessica gave me some last week and I slept like a baby. Interesting, so Patricia knew about the tea, or thought she did. Was she lying about having tried it before? Or had they given her safe tea last week to set up this moment? I looked at Michael. My son, the baby I'd rocked to sleep, the child I'd raised alone, the man who'd tried to steal my house. He wasn't looking at me, he was staring at his cup, jaw clenched, fingers tight around the handle. He looked nervous, guilty, but not surprised. He knew. He was part of this. The pain of that realization was worse than any poison could be. My own son, my only child, the person I'd sacrificed everything for. But I couldn't think about that now. I had to survive first. I could grieve later. "Let's drink," Jessica said, raising her cup to her lips. That's when I saw my opportunity. Jessica took a sip. A small one, barely wetting her lips. Performative. Michael took a sip, also small, also careful. Patricia started to lift her cup toward her mouth. At that exact moment, Tyler called out from upstairs, "Mom, Sophia's crying." Everyone's heads turned toward the stairs. The distraction lasted only 2 seconds, but it was enough. I dropped my napkin deliberately. "Oh, clumsy me," I said, bending down to retrieve it from the floor. Under the table, with everyone's attention on the sound of the baby crying, I reached out carefully and swapped my cups. Position with Patricia's cups position on the saucers. We were sitting directly across from each other. The cups were identical. The saucers were identical. I had to be precise. Hot tea, ceramic cups, no spilling. The movement took less than 3 seconds. The crying baby had given me the cover I needed. When I sat back up, Patricia's safe cup was now in front of me. My poison cup was now in front of her. Jessica called up the stairs, "She's fine, Tyler. Just check her diaper." She turned back to the table, impatient now. "Sorry about that." "Where were we?" "No problem," I said, smiling apologetically. "Getting old, I guess. Things just slipped through my fingers." "No problem," Jessica said, but there was tension in her voice now, impatience. I lifted the cup, Patricia's cup, the one that had been in front of her, and took a substantial sip. It tasted like chamomile, like honey, like lemon, no bitter taste, no burning sensation, nothing unusual. Patricia's tea was safe. Mine had been poisoned. This wasn't a mass poisoning. This was targeted. They'd poisoned only my cup. I said, "This is lovely, Jessica. You were right. It's very relaxing." The relief on Jessica's face was almost comical. She'd been holding her breath, waiting to see if I'd notice. "I'm so glad you like it," she said. "Mom, drink yours. It really is special." Patricia lifted her cup, my cup, the poisoned one, and took a drink. I watched her face, waiting. The voice recorder in my pocket was capturing everything. She swallowed, made a small face. "It's a bit bitter," she said. "Maybe I'll add more honey." "No, drink it as is," Jessica said quickly. "The bitterness is part of the blend. It's supposed to be that way." Patricia shrugged and took another sip, larger this time. I took another sip of my safe tea and watched, cataloging, documenting in my mind every word, every expression, every reaction. Jessica and Michael were both staring at me, waiting for symptoms, waiting for me to collapse. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so horrifying. They were watching the wrong person. We sat there for several minutes, making awkward conversation. Jessica asked me about my volunteer work at the library. Michael mentioned a client meeting he had next week. Patricia talked about her book club. Normal, boring, murderous. Then Patricia's hand started shaking. It was subtle at first, just a small tremor as she set her teacup down. She blinked rapidly, as if trying to clear her vision. "Mom?" Jessica said. "Are you okay?" "I feel strange," Patricia said. Her words were slightly slurred. "Dizzy. My chest feels tight." She stood up suddenly, knocking her chair back. "I need air. I can't breathe. I can't." She collapsed, just dropped like someone had cut her strings. Her head hit the hardwood floor with a sickening crack. Jessica screamed. Michael jumped up, knocking over his wine glass, and I sat there, my training taking over, watching with clinical assessment, while my heart broke. Patricia was convulsing on my dining room floor, her body jerking, foam forming at the corners of her mouth. Her skin was turning bright red, cherry red, actually, which is a classic sign of cyanide poisoning. "Call 911. Jessica was shrieking, dropping to her knees beside her mother. Mom, can you hear me? Oh God, what's happening?" Michael had his phone out, but his hands were shaking so badly he could barely unlock it. I pulled out my phone. Calmly, methodically, I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? "I need an ambulance at 847 Maple Ridge Drive. A woman in her late 60s has collapsed. She's having seizures. Her skin is cherry red. She's unresponsive. I suspect cyanide poisoning." "Ma'am, did you say cyanide poisoning?" Yes. The bitter almond smell was present in the tea she drank approximately 8 minutes ago. She's displaying classic symptoms: seizures, respiratory distress, skin discoloration. You need to tell the paramedics to bring a cyanide antidote kit, hydroxycobalamin or sodium thiosulfate. Time is critical. The operator's voice changed, became sharper, more focused. Paramedics are on the way. Stay on the line with me. Is the patient breathing? I knelt down next to Patricia, maintaining my composure. Her breathing was shallow and irregular. Her pupils were dilated. The seizures were subsiding, but that wasn't a good sign. It meant her body was shutting down. Breathing is labored and decreasing. Pulse is rapid and thready. She's lost consciousness. Jessica was sobbing, clutching her mother's hand. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It was just tea. Just tea. Michael was staring at me, really staring, and I saw the moment it clicked for him, the moment he realized what had happened. His face went white. He stumbled backward. I need everyone to stay calm, I said, still on the phone with 911. Do not touch anything on the table. Do not move any of the cups or the teapot. This is a potential crime scene. What? Jessica looked up at me, mascara running down her face. What are you talking about? Crime scene? This is my mother. She's dying. Yes, I said quietly. And someone needs to explain why. The sirens were approaching. I could hear them getting closer. I stayed on the line with the 911 operator, answering her questions, giving her information. I was clinical, precise, unemotional. Because here's what I knew. The moment the paramedics walked through that door, the moment the police arrived, everything would be scrutinized. Every word I'd said, every action I'd taken, every expression on my face. I needed to be the competent, concerned witness, not the vengeful target, not the suspicious survivor. The doorbell rang. Michael moved toward it like a zombie. 4 paramedics rushed in with equipment. I stepped back immediately, hands visible, away from the scene, giving them room to work. Patient is female, approximately 68 years old, I told them. She ingested what I believe to be cyanide approximately 10 minutes ago. Classic presentation: rapid onset, seizures, cherry red skin, respiratory distress. She needs hydroxycobalamin immediately. The lead paramedic looked at me sharply. Are you medical personnel? Forensic accountant with extensive experience in poisoning cases. I worked a cyanide poisoning case in 1997. I know the symptoms. They got to work. IV line, oxygen mask, medications pushed fast. They were efficient, professional, focused. One of them spoke into his radio. We need a cyanide antidote kit. Patient is critical. Possible code blue en route. They loaded Patricia onto a stretcher. Jessica tried to climb into the ambulance with them. Family can follow behind, the paramedics said. We need room to work. That's my mother, Jessica screamed. Ma'am, if you want her to survive, you need to let us do our job. They were gone, sirens wailing, racing toward the hospital. Jessica was standing in my driveway, shaking, makeup destroyed, hands clenched into fists. Michael was sitting on the front porch steps, head in his hands, and I was still in my dining room, standing well away from the table, hands at my sides. I took out my phone and started taking pictures from where I stood. The table setting, the cups in their positions, the teapot, the exact arrangement of everything. I didn't touch anything. I documented from a distance. What are you doing? Michael's voice came from the doorway. Documenting, I said. Documenting what? Mom, Patricia she just collapsed. We need to get to the hospital. We're not going anywhere, I said. The police are coming. The police? Why would the police? He stopped, looked at me, really looked at me. You knew, he whispered, you knew something was wrong with the tea. Yes. But you drank it anyway? No, I said calmly. I didn't drink the poison tea. Patricia did. The color drained from his face. What are you saying? I'm saying that cup of tea was meant for me. I'm saying someone poisoned it, and when I switched my cup with Patricia's during the distraction of Sophia crying, she drank the poison that was intended to kill me. Jessica had come back inside. She was standing in the doorway listening. "That's insane," she said. Her voice was high-pitched, panicked. "You're saying we poisoned you? That's absolutely insane. You're confused, Margaret. You're in shock." "I'm not confused. The tea you served me smelled like bitter almonds. That's the distinctive scent of cyanide. I recognized it immediately from a case I worked in 1997. You're lying? You're making this up? My mother is in the hospital dying, and you're creating some fantasy where we tried to murder you?" "Not a fantasy, a fact, and we'll let the toxicology tests prove it." 2 police cars pulled up outside. Officers getting out, walking toward the house. "Don't say anything," Jessica hissed at Michael. "Don't say a word. She's trying to trick us." But Michael was, staring at the table, at the 4 cups, at the one that had been sitting in front of me. A uniformed officer appeared at the door. "We got a report of a medical emergency with possible poisoning." "Yes," I said, staying where I was, not moving toward the evidence. "Come in. Please don't touch anything on the dining room table. I believe one of these cups contains poison. I've documented the scene with photographs, but haven't touched anything since the paramedics left." The officer's expression changed. He spoke into his radio. "Need a detective and crime scene unit at 847 Maple Ridge Drive. Possible poisoning, possible crime scene." More police arrived. A detective named Morrison, crime scene technicians with their kits and cameras. They separated us, put me in the living room with one officer, Jessica in the kitchen with another, Michael on the back patio. Detective Morrison sat across from me. He was in his early 50s, gray hair, tired eyes. He'd seen things. "Mrs. Chen, I need you to walk me through what happened tonight from the beginning." I did, chronologically, precisely, every detail. The invitation to dinner, the formal table setting, the special tea, the smell of bitter almonds, the distraction of the baby crying, the decision to switch cups, Patricia's collapse, the call to 911. He wrote everything down in a small notebook. "You're saying you switched cups with the victim?" "Yes, under the table, when everyone's attention was on the baby crying upstairs. My cup had been poisoned, hers had not. When she drank from my cup, she ingested the poison." "Why would someone want to poison you?" "I've been having serious financial difficulties with my son and daughter-in-law. They've been attempting to gain control of my assets, my house, my accounts. There have been multiple incidents over the past 6 months." I pulled out my phone. "I've been documenting everything. I have dates, times, evidence of attempted fraud. I filed a police report 3 weeks ago about identity theft and an attempted quitclaim deed on my house." His eyes sharpened. "You filed a report?" "Yes, I can give you the case number. This isn't a sudden accusation. This is the culmination of a pattern of behavior." He made a phone call, verified my report, requested those files. "Mrs. Chen, you're remarkably calm for someone who was just the target of an attempted murder." "Detective, I spent my career dealing with criminals who smile while stealing millions. I learned to separate emotion from evidence. Right now, you need evidence. My emotions can wait." "Fair enough, but I have to ask, you called 911 and immediately diagnosed cyanide poisoning. That's going to raise questions. How did you know?" "I worked a cyanide poisoning case in 1997, insurance fraud. I studied it extensively. I have the genetic ability to smell cyanide, the bitter almond scent. When I smelled it in my tea tonight, I recognized it immediately. When I switched cups and Patricia collapsed with classic cyanide symptoms, I knew my suspicion was correct. You knowingly allowed Patricia Hoffman to drink poison. This was it. The question I'd been dreading, the question that made me potentially culpable. Detective, I had 3 seconds to make a decision. If I refused the tea, they'd know I suspected something. They might have panicked and tried something more direct. I was outnumbered in my own home. If I warned Patricia, I'd be warning them they'd destroy evidence. They'd claim I was paranoid and use it to get me declared incompetent. If I drank my own cup, I'd be dead. I made a split-second decision that the only way to survive and preserve evidence was to redirect the poison away from myself. Did you consider that Patricia might be part of the murder plot? I'd overheard her 3 months ago telling Jessica to move faster before I could change my will. I had reason to believe she was involved in the conspiracy to take my assets. I didn't know if she specifically knew about the poison, but she wasn't innocent. Morrison studied me for a long moment. Most people in your situation would be hysterical, emotional. You're remarkably composed. I've testified in over 200 criminal cases. I know how this works. Emotion doesn't help. Evidence does. You're not upset that someone tried to kill you? Oh, I was upset. I was devastated. I was enraged. But I'd learned a long time ago that showing those emotions wouldn't get me justice. Following the process would. I'm upset, I said quietly, but I'm more determined to see justice done. That requires clarity, not hysteria. And Detective, I know how this looks. I know I'm going to be scrutinized. That's why I haven't touched anything. That's why I documented everything. That's why I called you. I want a thorough investigation. He stood up. I'm going to need you to come to the station to give a formal statement. This is going to be a long night. I understand. Can I call my attorney? Absolutely. I called Ben Shaw. Told him what had happened. Told him I needed him at the police station immediately. He was there within 40 minutes. Walked in, looking like he'd thrown on the first clothes he could find. But his mind was sharp. Margaret, are you under arrest? No. I'm a witness. Possibly the intended victim. Possibly facing questions about my own culpability. Good. Don't say anything more without me present. We spent 6 hours at the station. I gave my statement. Detailed, chronological, supported by the documentation I'd been keeping for months. I showed them my financial records, the attempted ATM withdrawals, the credit cards opened in my name, the attempted quitclaim deed, my police report from 3 weeks earlier. I showed them the timeline, the escalating attempts to control my assets, the furniture removal, the redecorating, the contractor consultations. I told them about overhearing Jessica and Patricia discussing my will 3 months ago, about Jessica calling my attorney about the growing tension in the house. I provided the recordings from my voice-activated device, clear audio of the dinner conversation, Jessica offering the special tea, Patricia commenting on the bitterness, the entire exchange. Then I told them about tonight, the formal invitation, the special tea, the smell, the distraction, the cup switch, Patricia's collapse. Why didn't you just refuse to drink the tea? Morrison asked. Because I needed proof. A refusal would have tipped them off. They would have destroyed evidence. They would have claimed I was paranoid or delusional. By allowing the plan to proceed by documenting everything, I ensured there would be irrefutable evidence. You risked another person's life. That hit me hard because he was right. I made a decision in a split second, I said quietly. I didn't have time to think through all the moral implications. I knew my cup was poisoned. I knew if I drank it, I'd die. I knew if I refused, they'd escalate and I might not survive the next attempt. I knew Patricia's cup was safe because they'd only poisoned mine. When I switched them during the distraction, I knew Patricia would drink from the poisoned cup. Was it the right decision? I don't know, but it was the decision that kept me alive. Ben interjected. Detective, my client acted in self-defense in a immediate, life-threatening situation. She had no duty to protect a co-conspirator who was actively participating in a plot against her life and assets. Morrison nodded slowly. The DA will make the final determination, but based on the pattern of fraud, the immediate threat, and the evidence of Patricia's involvement, I don't anticipate charges against Mrs. Chen. However, we'll need the toxicology results and full investigation before making any final decisions. The toxicology results will take a few days, Morrison said, But preliminary field tests on the cup positioned in front of your seat show presence of a substance consistent with cyanide. We're holding your son and daughter-in-law for questioning. Are they under arrest? Not yet, but they're not going anywhere. Jessica had been screaming since they'd separated us. I could hear her in the other room claiming innocence, claiming confusion, claiming I was a crazy old woman trying to frame them. Michael was silent. I learned later that he'd refused to speak without an attorney. Smart. I'd raised him to be smart, just not smart enough. At 4 a.m., they let me leave. Ben drove me to a hotel, told me not to go back to my house until the investigation was complete. It's my house, I said. It's also a crime scene. Let them process it, stay somewhere safe. They'll need at least 48 hours to process everything and get initial lab results back. I checked into a Holiday Inn, took a shower, laid down on the generic hotel bed, and finally I let myself feel it. The betrayal, the pain, the rage. My son had tried to kill me, my own child, the baby I'd nursed and raised and protected and sacrificed for. He'd valued my house more than my life. He'd valued money more than his mother. I cried. Not pretty crying, ugly, gut-wrenching sobs. The kind of crying that leaves you exhausted and empty. I cried for the son I thought I had, the son who didn't exist, the son who'd been replaced by a stranger willing to commit murder for real estate. I cried for Patricia, lying in a hospital bed, fighting for her life because I'd made a choice. Whether she deserved it or not, I'd made that choice. I cried for myself, for the life I'd built, now contaminated by betrayal, for the family dinners that would never happen, for the grandchildren I'd probably never know, for the trust that had been shattered beyond repair. And then when I couldn't cry anymore, I dried my face, I opened my laptop, and I went to work. Because grief is a luxury you can afford after victory. And I hadn't won yet. I pulled up all my documentation, every file, every photo, every note. I organized it chronologically. I created a master timeline. Then I started researching cyanide poisoning cases, legal precedents, attempted murder charges, estate law, disinheritance procedures. I was going to war, and I was going to win. At 9 a.m., my phone rang. Ben Shaw. Patricia is alive, critical but stable. They got the antidote in time. She's suffered some organ damage and neurological effects, but they expect her to survive. Relief washed over me. Whatever she'd done, whatever she'd planned, I hadn't wanted her to die. That's good news. It's also complicating news. She's talking to the police from her hospital bed. And Margaret, she's not backing up Jessica and Michael's story. What do you mean? She's saying she didn't know about any poisoning plan. She's saying Jessica told her this was just a family dinner to make peace with you. She's claiming complete ignorance about the cyanide. Is she telling the truth? I don't know. But she's lawyering up and she's making it very clear she had no knowledge of any murder plot, which means if there's a conspiracy charge, she's trying to avoid it. So she's protecting herself. Wouldn't you? Fair point. Michael and Jessica have been arrested, Ben continued. Attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, financial fraud. The DA is throwing everything at them. Bail hearing is in 48 hours. Good. Margaret, this is going to get ugly. They're going to fight this. They're going to claim you're mentally unstable. They're going to bring up your age. They're going to try every angle to discredit you. Let them try. I need you to be prepared. This isn't just about the poisoning anymore. This is about your competency, your finances, your estate. They're going to attack everything. I know, that's why I have you. Over the next 2 weeks, the story exploded. Local news picked it up first. Elderly woman escapes poisoning attempt by son and daughter-in-law. Then regional news, then national. I became a story. The sharp grandmother who'd outmaneuvered her greedy family, the forensic accountant who'd used her skills to survive, reporters camped outside my house, my hotel, the police station, everywhere. I said nothing. Ben had instructed me to maintain complete silence with the media. Let the evidence speak. Don't give them ammunition. But Jessica and Michael had no such restraint. Jessica gave an interview from jail, tears streaming down her face. Margaret has been showing signs of dementia for months. We were trying to help her. We were trying to protect her. This whole thing is a tragic misunderstanding. She's confused and paranoid. Michael's attorney released a statement. Our client denies all charges. He loves his mother. He would never harm her. This is a case of an elderly woman with cognitive decline making false accusations. They were playing the age card, the dementia card, exactly as I'd predicted, but I had a counter move ready. I called Dr. Patel, scheduled a comprehensive cognitive assessment, neuropsychological testing, psychiatric evaluation, memory tests, executive function tests, reasoning tests. I spent 2 full days being evaluated by 3 different specialists. The results, cognitively intact. No signs of dementia, cognitive decline, or impairment. Above average memory and reasoning for my age. Fully competent to manage my own affairs. I had Ben submit those results to the court, to the police, to the prosecutor. Then I went further. I had Ben subpoena Jessica and Michael's finances. Their bank records, their credit reports, their debt statements. What we found was devastating. Michael and Jessica were drowning in debt. Credit cards maxed out at $127,000, car payments 3 months behind, medical bills from Jessica's pregnancy totaling $23,000. They'd borrowed $30,000 from Patricia. They had personal loans from 3 different friends. Michael's gambling losses over the past 2 years, $87,000. Jessica's shopping addiction, 5 maxed out credit cards, hidden purchases totaling over $60,000. Total debt, over $180,000. Michael's new job paid $75,000 a year. After taxes and their mortgage payment on the house that was in foreclosure, they had maybe $2,000 a month to live on. It would take them decades to pay off that debt if they ever could. My house represented salvation, $1.2 million in equity. No mortgage. If they could get me declared incompetent, get power of attorney, they could force a sale or take out a reverse mortgage or refinance and take the cash. And if I died without changing my will, Michael would inherit everything. The house, my retirement accounts, my savings, my investments, over $2 million total. That was the motive. Clear, documented, irrefutable. The forensic team's final analysis came back. The cup that had been positioned in front of my seat contained potassium cyanide. Lethal dose, 300 milligrams. The amount in my cup, 450 milligrams. More than enough to kill me 3 times over. They traced the purchase to an online chemical supply company that catered to gold extraction hobbyists. The order had been placed from Michael's work computer using his login credentials. Security camera footage from his office showed him placing the order during work hours. They found search history on Jessica's laptop. Cyanide poisoning symptoms. How to disguise bitter almond smell. Untraceable poisons. How long does cyanide stay in system? Can cyanide be detected in autopsy? Natural causes that mimic poisoning. Dozens of searches over a 4-month period. They found text messages between Jessica and Patricia from 2 months earlier. Patricia: we need to do something about Margaret. She's blocking everything. Jessica: working on it. Be patient. More recent texts from 1 week before the dinner. Jessica: got what we need. This Friday. Patricia: are you absolutely sure about this? Jessica: it's the only way. She'll never agree to leave. Patricia's claim of complete ignorance was harder to maintain with those texts. The prosecutor offered her a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. She took it. What Patricia revealed in her cooperation was damning. The plan had been in motion for 4 months. Since just after Sophia was born. Jessica had researched methods. She'd discussed timing with Michael. They'd planned the dinner specifically to have Patricia there as a witness. Patricia would testify that I'd been acting strange, confused, possibly suicidal. After I died, they'd claim I'd poisoned myself. or that it was an accident. Maybe I'd confused my medications, or that I'd been showing signs of cognitive decline and had accidentally ingested something toxic. Patricia's role was to support that narrative, to express concern about my mental state, to suggest that maybe I shouldn't have been living alone, to help establish the story that my death was predictable, even inevitable, given my declining condition. Patricia claimed she'd thought this was just talk, that she'd thought they were discussing legal ways to get control, power of attorney, maybe moving me to assisted living. She claimed she didn't know about the cyanide until the text from the week before, and even then she'd thought, got what we need meant legal documents, not poison. It was a weak defense. But she was sticking to it. What they hadn't counted on was me recognizing the poison, me switching the cups, me surviving to tell the truth. And they definitely hadn't counted on Patricia taking the dose meant for me. The trial was set for 8 months out. Ben advised me that given the evidence, they'd likely plead guilty to lesser charges. He was wrong. Jessica and Michael pled not guilty, demanded a jury trial, continued to claim I was mentally incompetent and making false accusations. Their attorney also filed an emergency guardianship petition. They were trying to have me declared incompetent and get themselves appointed as my guardians. So we went to war on two fronts. The guardianship hearing came first. 2 months after the poisoning attempt, Michael and Jessica's attorney argued that I was suffering from paranoid delusions, that I'd created an elaborate conspiracy theory to explain normal family conflicts, that my immediate diagnosis of cyanide poisoning when Patricia collapsed was evidence of mental instability. They brought in a geriatric psychiatrist they'd hired. He testified that sudden personality changes and paranoid ideation could indicate cognitive decline, that elderly people often become suspicious of family members, that my behavior, documenting everything, installing cameras, filing police reports, suggested unhealthy paranoia. But then the prosecution presented their case. My 3 independent cognitive evaluations, all showing perfect mental function, above average memory, sharp reasoning, no signs of dementia or decline, my 43-year career history, over 200 cases, expert testimony in fraud investigations, a professional who was trained to spot patterns and document evidence, the physical evidence, the cyanide in the teacup, the forged documents, the fraudulent credit cards, the documented theft attempts, and then Dr. Patel testified, my doctor of 15 years. Margaret Chen is one of the most mentally acute patients I've ever treated, she said. Her memory is exceptional. Her reasoning is clear. She manages complex financial affairs independently. She volunteers, maintains social connections, exercises regularly. There's absolutely no indication of cognitive decline. The judge denied the guardianship petition within an hour of closing arguments. The evidence overwhelmingly shows that Mrs. Chen is fully competent, he said. The petition appears to be a tactical maneuver rather than a genuine concern for her welfare. Petition denied. Furthermore, I'm issuing a restraining order preventing the petitioners from making any further attempts to control Mrs. Chen's assets or person. One battle won. The criminal trial began 6 months later. By then, Patricia had mostly recovered, though she tired easily and had some lingering tremors in her hands. She'd served 3 months in jail before being released on bail pending her cooperation. The trial lasted 3 weeks, 3 weeks of sitting in a courtroom listening to Michael's attorney try to destroy my credibility, try to paint me as a confused, paranoid old woman, try to convince 12 strangers that I'd fabricated an elaborate murder plot to cover up my own declining mental state. The prosecution went first. They laid out the timeline, the financial fraud attempts, the forged quitclaim deed, the identity theft, the credit cards opened in my name. They showed the jury my police report from 3 weeks before the poisoning attempt. They established motive, Michael and Jessica's debt, $180,000, their desperate financial situation. The itemized breakdown, gambling losses, shopping addiction, medical bills, personal loans, the value of my estate, the inheritance they stood to gain. They brought in the forensic toxicologist, a woman named Dr. Sarah Brennan, who'd been analyzing poisoning cases for 23 years. She explained in clear, simple terms what potassium cyanide does to the human body. It inhibits cellular respiration, she said. Essentially, it prevents your cells from using oxygen. You suffocate from the inside out. Death can occur within minutes of ingesting a lethal dose. She showed the jury photographs of the teacup that had been positioned in front of my seat, the residue at the bottom. The test results confirming potassium cyanide. This was not a trace amount, Dr. Brennan said. This was 450 milligrams of potassium cyanide, enough to kill 3 adults. Whoever drank from this cup would have died within 15 to 20 minutes without immediate medical intervention. The jury looked at me, this 72-year-old woman who'd been sitting calmly in the courtroom every day, the woman who should have been dead. Then they brought in Patricia. She walked to the witness stand slowly, still recovering. She'd lost 15 pounds. Her hair had gone completely white. She looked 20 years older than the woman who'd sat at my dining room table 8 months ago. Her hands trembled slightly as she took the oath. The prosecutor walked her through the planning, the text messages, the conversations with Jessica about handling me, the discussion of my will and assets. "Did you know Jessica was planning to poison Margaret Chen?" the prosecutor asked. "No," Patricia said quietly, her voice weaker than it had been before the poisoning. "I knew we were discussing ways to gain access to her assets. I knew Jessica was frustrated, but I thought we were talking about legal options, power of attorney, maybe convincing her to sign documents. I didn't know about the poison. Not until it was too late." "What did you know about that night's dinner?" "Jessica told me it was a family dinner. She said she wanted to make peace with Margaret, smooth things over, maybe convince her to be more cooperative about financial arrangements. I thought we were just going to talk to her, persuade her." "Did Jessica tell you she was putting poison in Margaret's tea?" "No. I didn't know until the week before when she sent me that text saying she'd got what we need. Even then, I thought she meant legal documents or maybe something to make Margaret sleepy so she'd sign papers. I never imagined," her voice broke, "I never imagined she meant poison." "Mrs. Hoffman, you texted, 'Are you absolutely sure about this?' What did you think she was planning?" Patricia's hands trembled more visibly. "I thought maybe they were going to drug her, put something in her tea to make her drowsy and confused, then have documents for her to sign. I knew it was wrong. I knew I should have stopped it, but I didn't think it was murder. I swear I didn't think it was murder." The jury was riveted. "Mrs. Hoffman, you were willing to participate in financial fraud against Margaret Chen. You discussed ways to manipulate her, pressure her, take control of her assets. Why should this jury believe you didn't know about the poisoning?" Patricia looked at the jury directly. "Because I'm a greedy woman, not a murderer. I wanted Margaret's money. I wanted her house. I wanted my daughter to be secure, but I never wanted her dead. And I certainly never agreed to be the one who nearly died in her place." Her voice cracked. "I still have nightmares. I still can't drink tea. The doctors say I may never fully recover. That's not something I would have agreed to, no matter how much money was at stake." The prosecutor nodded. "No further questions." Jessica's attorney stood up. A woman named Karen Bradley, expensive suit, cold eyes. She'd built a career defending the indefensible. "Mrs. Hoffman, isn't it true you're testifying against your own daughter in exchange for a reduced sentence?" "Yes." "So you have a strong motivation to lie, don't you? To paint your daughter as the mastermind while you play the innocent victim?" "I'm not innocent, but I didn't know about the poison." "You discussed handling Margaret. You discussed getting rid of the problem. Those are your words, correct? Yes, but those sound like the words of someone planning violence, don't they? We were talking about legal ways to get control, power of attorney, guardianship, not murder. But you can't prove that, can you? You can't prove what you meant by those words? The texts speak for themselves. I questioned whether she was sure. That shows I didn't know the full plan. Bradley pulled out printed copies of the text messages. Read them aloud to the jury. Each one sounded worse in the context of a courtroom. We need to do something about Margaret. She's blocking everything. Got what we need this Friday. Are you absolutely sure about this? It's the only way. She'll never agree to leave. Mrs. Hoffman, these texts certainly sound like you knew exactly what was being planned. I thought what we need meant documents, legal papers, not poison. Her hands were shaking badly now. If I'd known it was poison, I wouldn't have drunk that tea. I wouldn't have nearly died. How convenient. You thought it was all innocent until you were the one who got poisoned. Objection, the prosecutor said. Argumentative, sustained. Bradley switched tactics. Mrs. Hoffman, you wanted your daughter to inherit Margaret's estate, correct? I wanted her to be financially secure. You knew Margaret's house was worth over $1 million? Yes. You knew she had substantial retirement savings? Yes. You knew that if Margaret died, all of that would go to your daughter and son-in-law? Yes. And you admit you actively participated in schemes to gain control of those assets? Yes, but not through murder. So you draw the line at murder, but fraud is acceptable? Patricia's face crumpled. No, none of it was acceptable. I was wrong, I was greedy, and I was wrong, and I'm paying for it now. She held up her trembling hands. I'll be paying for it for the rest of my life. Bradley pressed harder. Isn't it true that you're only testifying against your daughter because you're angry she nearly killed you? I'm testifying because it's the truth, because what she did was wrong, because I don't want anyone else's mother to die the way I almost did. No further questions. Patricia stepped down. She didn't look at Jessica as she passed the defense table. Jessica was staring at her hands, shoulders shaking. The jury watched the interaction carefully. The next witness was Detective Morrison. He walked the jury through the investigation, the evidence collection, the crime scene analysis, the interviews. Then he dropped the bombshell. During our investigation, we obtained warrants for the defendant's electronic devices. We found extensive search history related to poisons, specifically cyanide. He pulled up screenshots on the courtroom monitors. Jessica's laptop, dozens of searches over a 4-month period. How to get cyanide, cyanide poisoning symptoms. How long does cyanide take to kill? Can cyanide be detected in autopsy? How to mask bitter almond smell. Natural causes that look like cyanide poisoning. The jury stared at the screens. The evidence was damning. We also found the purchase record. Morrison continued. On April 3rd, someone using Michael Chen's work computer ordered 100 grams of potassium cyanide from Chem Supply Direct, an online chemical retailer that supplies gold extraction hobbyists. The order was shipped to a P.O. box registered to Jessica Chen. He showed the receipts, the order confirmation, the tracking information, the signature on the delivery confirmation, Jessica's signature. The defendants claimed this was for a hobby project, gold extraction, but we searched their home thoroughly. We found no equipment, no materials, no research into gold extraction methods, no gold, no extraction tools, no chemistry supplies, just research into poison. Bradley objected repeatedly, but the judge allowed the evidence. It was relevant, it was probative, it was devastating. Then came my turn to testify. I'd been dreading this. Not because I was afraid of the questions, but because I'd have to face Michael. I'd have to sit on that witness stand and look at my son while I testified about how he tried to murder me. The prosecutor, Andrew Chen, no relation, despite the name, walked me through my background. My career as a forensic accountant, my expertise in fraud investigation, my testimony in over 200 cases, the 1997 cyanide case that had taught me to recognize the smell. He established my credibility, my competence, my professional history of spotting financial crimes. And then he asked me about Michael and Jessica moving into my house. I told the jury everything, the initial agreement, the temporary arrangement that became permanent, the gradual takeover of my home, the redecorating, the furniture removal, the contractor consultations. Do you want them to continue living in your house? No. By month 6, I wanted them to find their own place, but they made no effort to leave. Why didn't you ask them to leave? Because Michael is my son, because I loved him, because I kept hoping things would improve, because I didn't want to believe what my professional instincts were telling me. What were your instincts telling you? That they were running a con, that they'd moved in with the intention of taking control of my assets, that every action they took was calculated to position themselves as my caretakers, to establish a narrative that I needed help, that I was declining, that they were the responsible parties managing my affairs. I walked the jury through the financial fraud attempts, the ATM withdrawals, the credit cards, the attempted addition to my bank account, the forged quitclaim deed. I document everything I said, every irregularity, every attempt, every conversation, because that's what I do professionally. I spot patterns, I gather evidence, I build cases. Did you believe your son was trying to steal from you? The question hurt, but I answered honestly, yes. By month 8, I had documented proof of multiple fraud attempts. I'd filed a police report. I'd consulted with my attorney. I knew Michael and Jessica were trying to take my assets. I just didn't know how far they were willing to go. Tell the jury about the dinner on June 14th. I took a breath. This was it. The central event, the attempted murder. Jessica invited me to a family dinner. She specified it would be just family. Her, Michael, her mother Patricia, and me. She said she was making my favorite meal, pot roast. Did anything about the invitation seem unusual? Everything seemed unusual. The formality, the specific mention of Patricia being there, the emphasis on it being special. After months of tension, this sudden gesture of family togetherness felt wrong. But you accepted the invitation? Yes, because I wanted to see what they were planning. I wanted to observe their behavior. And because despite everything, part of me still hoped I was wrong. Part of me still wanted to believe my son loved me more than he wanted my money. My voice caught on that last sentence. The prosecutor paused, letting the emotion land with the jury. Tell us about the tea. After dinner, Jessica brought out a tea service. She said it was a special chamomile blend imported from Europe given to her by a friend. She poured 4 cups. She specifically handed one to me, saying I would love it. What did you notice about the tea? The smell. Beneath the chamomile and honey, there was another scent. Faint, but distinctive. Bitter almonds. Did you recognize that smell? Yes. I'd worked on a cyanide poisoning case in 1997, insurance fraud. The husband had poisoned his wife's tea with potassium cyanide. The bitter almond smell was a key piece of evidence. I'd studied the case extensively. I'm one of the 40% of people with the genetic ability to smell cyanide. I knew what it was immediately. What did you do when you recognized the smell? I had to make a decision very quickly. If I refused to drink, they'd know I suspected something. They might panic, might try something more direct. If I drank, I'd die. I needed to survive, and I needed evidence. So what did you do? Tyler called from upstairs that Sophia was crying. Everyone's attention turned toward the stairs. In that moment of distraction, I dropped my napkin. When I bent down to retrieve it, I switched the position of my cup with Patricia's cup. The cups were identical. We were sitting directly across from each other. It took less than 3 seconds. Why did you switch with Patricia's cup specifically? This was the hard part, the part that made me look calculated, cold, but it was the truth. Because I knew Patricia's cup wasn't poisoned. This wasn't a mass poisoning. If they'd wanted to kill everyone at the table, they wouldn't have been sitting there themselves drinking the same tea. They'd poisoned only my cup, so I knew Patricia's cup was safe to drink, and I knew that if I switched them, she would drink the poison intended for me. Did you warn her? No. Did you try to stop her from drinking? No. Why not? Because if I warned her, I'd be warning Jessica and Michael. They'd know I'd figured it out. They'd destroy evidence. They'd claim I was paranoid. By the time I could prove what they'd done, they might have tried again more successfully. I made a split-second decision that the only way to stop them permanently was to let their plan proceed, but redirect the consequences away from myself. Mrs. Chen, you knowingly allowed Patricia Hoffman to drink poison. Yes, I did, and I've had to live with that decision every day since. The courtroom was silent. The jury was staring at me, some with sympathy, some with horror, some with respect. Was Patricia part of the murder plot? Based on her text messages with Jessica, she knew something was being planned. She'd discussed taking control of my assets. She'd encouraged Jessica to move faster. Whether she specifically knew about the poison, I don't know, but she wasn't innocent. She was a co-conspirator in the financial fraud, at minimum. Do you feel guilty about what happened to Patricia? Yes, every day. But I feel more determined to see justice done. Because whatever Patricia's involvement, the primary responsibility lies with Jessica and Michael. They obtained the poison. They planned the murder. They served me that tea. If Patricia hadn't drunk it, I would have, and I would be dead. No further questions? Bradley stood up for cross-examination. She looked like a predator circling wounded prey. Mrs. Chen, you claim to have switched cups in less than 3 seconds under a table without anyone noticing? Yes, while everyone was distracted by Tyler calling about the baby. That seems like a very difficult maneuver for a 72-year-old woman. I'm 72, not incapacitated. I walk 3 miles a day. I garden. I'm in excellent physical condition. And I had 3 seconds of complete distraction to execute the swap. You expect this jury to believe you had the presence of mind in a moment of extreme stress to execute a perfect cup swap. I've spent 4 decades making decisions in high-pressure situations, testifying in court, confronting embezzlers, presenting evidence that sends people to prison. Pressure sharpens my focus. It doesn't impair it. Or maybe there was no poison. Maybe Patricia simply had a medical emergency. Maybe you saw an opportunity to frame your son and daughter-in-law for a crime they didn't commit. The toxicology results proved the presence of cyanide, 450 milligrams, in the cup that had been positioned in front of my seat, which could have been added to the cup after the fact. By whom? The cup was bagged as evidence within minutes of Patricia's collapse. Crime scene technicians documented the chain of custody. I didn't touch the cups after the collapse. I stood away from the table and documented with photographs. The cyanide was there before Patricia drank from it. Bradley shifted tactics. Mrs. Chen, you've admitted to documenting your son's behavior for months. Following him, recording conversations, going through his belongings. That sounds like obsessive behavior, doesn't it? It sounds like professional investigation. When I noticed patterns of fraud, I documented them. That's what investigators do. Or paranoia. You've also admitted to significant conflict with your son and daughter-in-law. Moving yourself to the basement, refusing to allow renovations to the house, fighting over financial matters. Isn't it possible you've blown normal family disagreements into an elaborate conspiracy theory? The forged quitclaim deed wasn't a disagreement. The fraudulent credit cards weren't a disagreement. The 450 milligrams of cyanide in my teacup wasn't a disagreement. You've made a very comfortable living as a forensic accountant. You've trained yourself to see crimes everywhere. Isn't it possible you've seen crimes where there are none? I've also trained myself to distinguish between suspicion and evidence. I have evidence. Documented fraud attempts going back 6 months. Search histories showing premeditation. Purchase records for the poison, text messages discussing plans to handle me, That's not a convenient narrative. That's a proven pattern of criminal behavior. Bradley hammered at me for 2 more hours, questioning my memory, questioning my judgment, questioning my motives. She brought up my age repeatedly, suggested cognitive decline, suggested I'd misinterpreted innocent actions, suggested I'd fabricated evidence. But I held firm. I've been cross-examined by better attorneys than Karen Bradley. I've faced down defense lawyers who'd been sharpening their teeth on white-collar criminals for decades. I knew how to stay calm, how to answer clearly, how to stick to facts and documentation. When she finally sat down, I could see the frustration on her face. She hadn't broken me. She hadn't created reasonable doubt. The prosecution rested. The defense called their witnesses. Michael testified. He cried on the stand, talked about how much he loved me, how worried he'd been about my mental state, how he'd only tried to help with my finances because I'd been making mistakes. What kind of mistakes? His attorney asked. Forgetting to pay bills, repeating stories, getting confused about dates. We were scared she was developing dementia. It was a performance. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed it. But I watched the jury and I saw skepticism on their faces. But then the prosecutor cross-examined him. Mr. Chen, if you were so worried about your mother's mental state, why didn't you take her to a doctor? We suggested it. She refused. Did you document these suggestions? Any emails, texts, or written communication showing you encouraged her to seek medical attention? No, they were verbal conversations. Convenient. Mr. Chen, you testified that your mother was forgetting to pay bills. Can you provide any evidence of unpaid bills? Late notices? Shut-off warnings? No, because she always caught up eventually. So she didn't actually forget to pay bills. She paid them on time? Well, yes, but... And you said she was repeating stories. Do you have any witnesses who observed this behavior besides yourself and your wife? No. So the only people claiming Margaret Chen showed signs of cognitive decline are the 2 people who stand to inherit her estate if she's declared incompetent. Michael's face flushed. I'm telling the truth. Let's talk about truth. Did you attempt to add yourself to your mother's bank account without her permission? I thought she'd agreed to it. Did she sign any paperwork agreeing to it? No. Did you use your mother's ATM card to withdraw cash without her permission? I thought she'd given me permission. Did she physically hand you her card and PIN? She must have. I don't remember. You don't remember how you obtained your own mother's bank card and PIN number? I was trying to help her. By stealing from her? Objection. Withdrawn. Mr. Chen, did you attempt to file a quitclaim deed transferring your mother's house to yourself? No, that must have been Jessica. He threw Jessica under the bus, just like that, trying to save himself. I saw Jessica's head snap up, saw the betrayal on her face. The prosecutor showed him the search history. From his work computer, the cyanide purchase record. Mr. Chen, this order for potassium cyanide was placed from your work computer using your login credentials during your work hours. Can you explain that? Someone must have used my computer while I was away from my desk. Your office has security cameras. We pulled the footage for the date and time of that purchase. Would you like to see it? Michael went pale. The prosecutor played the video. Clear footage of Michael sitting at his computer typing. Timestamp matched the cyanide order exactly. Date stamp visible, timestamp visible. Michael's face clearly visible. That's you, isn't it, Mr. Chen? I was researching for a work project. Your work project required researching how to purchase lethal poison? I was curious. Jessica had mentioned gold extraction as a potential hobby. Curious enough to complete the purchase, to provide a shipping address, to pay for expedited delivery, to spend $347 on a lethal poison. I didn't actually mean to buy it. I must have clicked through by accident. You accidentally entered your credit card information, accidentally confirmed the purchase, accidentally selected expedited shipping. I don't know. I don't remember. He was falling apart, contradicting himself, lying, obviously. The jury looked disgusted. The prosecutor destroyed him. piece by piece, question by question. By the time Michael stepped down, several jurors were shaking their heads. Jessica didn't testify. Bradley advised against it. The evidence was too strong. Jessica would have been eviscerated on cross-examination. Instead, Bradley tried to create doubt through expert witnesses, a geriatric psychiatrist who testified that sudden personality changes can indicate cognitive decline, a toxicologist who suggested contamination could have occurred during evidence collection, but the prosecution's rebuttal was stronger. My 3 competency evaluations showing perfect cognitive function, the timeline of the crime scene proving the cyanide was in the cup before Patricia drank, the chain of custody documentation, the mountain of evidence showing premeditation. Closing arguments took an entire day. Bradley argued that I was a paranoid woman who'd misinterpreted family tension as a murder plot, that the financial issues were misunderstandings, that the cyanide could have been planted or contaminated, but her argument fell flat. The evidence was too clear. The video of Michael ordering the poison, Jessica's search history, Patricia's testimony, the physical evidence. The prosecutor's closing was devastating. He walked the jury through the timeline, the escalating fraud attempts, the research into poison, the purchase, the text messages, the dinner, the attempted murder. Margaret Chen should be dead, he said. That was the plan. Poison her tea, wait for her to die. Claim it was natural causes, or suicide, or an accident. Inherit her estate. Walk away with over $2 million. But Margaret Chen is alive. Why? Because she's brilliant, because she's experienced, because she spent 4 decades catching criminals, and she recognized the signs. She smelled the poison. She switched the cups. She documented everything. The defense wants you to believe this is all a misunderstanding, that Michael and Jessica are loving family members who made innocent mistakes. But innocent people don't order cyanide. Innocent people don't research how to hide poisoning symptoms. Innocent people don't forge documents and steal identities. Innocent people don't put 450 milligrams of lethal poison in their mother's tea. Michael Chen and Jessica Chen tried to murder Margaret Chen for money. They failed, and now they must face justice. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. When they came back, the 4 women stood up. The judge asked for the verdict. On the count of attempted murder in the first degree, how do you find the defendant, Michael Chen, guilty? On the count of attempted murder in the first degree, how do you find the defendant, Jessica Chen, guilty? The verdict continued. Conspiracy to commit murder, guilty. Elder abuse, guilty. Financial fraud, guilty. Identity theft, guilty. Forgery, guilty. Guilty on all counts. Jessica collapsed, sobbing. Michael sat motionless, staring at nothing. I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just emptiness. My son was a convicted felon, a would-be murderer, and I was the reason he'd be going to prison. Sentencing came 3 weeks later. Michael, 25 years in state prison for attempted murder, plus consecutive sentences for the fraud charges. Total, 32 years. Jessica, 25 years for attempted murder, plus consecutive sentences. Total, 35 years. They'd be in their 60s before they were eligible for parole. Tyler would be in his 30s. Sophia would be 35 years old. Patricia, because of her cooperation and her own victimization, received 5 years for conspiracy and fraud. With good behavior, she'd serve 3. The judge spoke directly to Michael and Jessica before sentencing them. You targeted a vulnerable elderly woman who loved you and trusted you. You betrayed that trust in the most profound way possible. You plan to murder her for financial gain. The only reason she's alive is because of her own intelligence and skill. This court finds your behavior despicable and deserving of the maximum sentence allowed by law. Jessica was sobbing. Michael was still staring at nothing. I sat in the gallery and felt my heart break. Again, still. Because he was my son. No matter what he'd done, no matter what he'd tried to do, he was my baby, the child I'd loved and raised and sacrificed for. and I just helped send him to prison for the rest of his productive life. But I'd had no choice. It was his life sentence or my death sentence, and I chose to live. The civil case came next. Ben Shaw filed a lawsuit against Michael and Jessica for elder abuse, fraud, and emotional distress. The court awarded me $3.7 million in damages. They'd never be able to pay it, but the judgment would follow them forever. Non-dischargeable in bankruptcy, attached to any wages they might earn, garnished from any assets they might ever accumulate. They destroyed their lives trying to steal mine. I updated my will the day after sentencing. Michael was completely disinherited. Not a dollar, not a personal item, nothing. My estate would be divided among charities, elder abuse prevention organizations, financial literacy programs for seniors, legal aid for elderly victims of family fraud. I thought long and hard about Tyler and Sophia, my grandchildren, the innocents. In all of this, I set up trust funds for both of them to be released when they turn 30. Enough to help them, but not enough to change their lives completely. $100,000 each, managed by an independent trustee, with the condition that they must complete a financial literacy course before receiving the funds. It was the best I could do. I couldn't have a relationship with them. Jessica's brother, who'd taken custody, had made it clear I wasn't welcome. He blamed me for his sister's imprisonment, even though I'd been the victim. Some people will always protect family no matter what they've done. Maybe it's better this way. Maybe Tyler and Sophia are better off not knowing their grandmother is the reason their parents are in prison. Or maybe someday they'll understand. Maybe someday they'll learn the truth. And maybe they'll realize that sometimes love means stopping the people you care about from committing murder. I sold my house. Too many memories, too much pain, too much blood, even if metaphorical, on that dining room floor. The house that I'd bought for $87,000 in 1982, the house I'd paid off in 2001, the house that was supposed to be my retirement security. It sold for $1.3 million. After agent fees and closing costs, I netted $1.2 million. Added to my retirement accounts and investments, I have enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life, to travel if I want, to help causes I believe in, to be truly, finally free. I moved to a small condo in a retirement community 2 towns over. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, no maintenance. Simple, clean, safe. I started volunteering with the Elder Justice Initiative, teaching other seniors how to protect themselves from financial exploitation, how to spot the warning signs, how to document evidence, how to fight back, because I survived, and I could use that survival to help others. Every Tuesday, I teach a class called Protecting Your Assets in Old Age. 20 to 30 seniors attend each week. I walk them through the red flags, the common scams, the legal protections available. I tell them, document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let love blind you to larceny. I tell them, family doesn't mean trustworthy. Blood doesn't mean loyal. Love doesn't mean safe. I tell them if someone is trying to isolate you, control your finances, or pressure you to sign documents, get help immediately. And sometimes when the class is over and someone approaches me with trembling hands and frightened eyes, I tell them my story. I tell them about the tea, the bitter almonds, the cup switch, the trial, and I tell them you can survive, you can fight, you can win. 6 months after the trial, I got a call from a woman named Dorothy. She was 73. Her daughter and son-in-law had moved in with her. They were pressuring her to sign a power of attorney. She'd noticed money missing from her accounts. She'd heard me speak at the community center. She remembered my story. Can you help me? She asked. I could. I did. I reviewed her financial records, found the irregularities, documented the fraud attempts, connected her with an attorney, helped her file a police report, guided her through the eviction process. Her daughter was arrested, pled guilty, 5 years for elder abuse and fraud. Dorothy kept her house, her savings, her independence, And I found my purpose. I couldn't save my relationship with my son. I couldn't undo the betrayal. I couldn't go back and choose a different family dinner, a different outcome. But I could take the skills I'd honed over decades, the experience I'd gained through pain, and use it to protect others. Every person I help is a victory over Michael and Jessica. Every senior I teach to spot fraud is proof that they didn't break me. I'm 73 now, 1 year older than I was on the night my daughter-in-law served me poison tea. I think about that night often. The smell of chamomile and bitter almonds, the weight of the cup in my hand, the choice to switch instead of confront. I think about Patricia, who survived but still trembles, who lost a daughter to prison, who has to live with the knowledge that her own greed nearly killed her. She moved to Arizona near her sister. We don't speak, but I heard through the legal grapevine that she volunteers at a senior center now, teaching elderly people about financial fraud. Maybe we're not so different after all. I think about Tyler and Sophia, my grandchildren, who I'll probably never know. Tyler is 8 now, Sophia is 4. They're being raised by Jessica's brother and his wife. I've never met Sophia. Tyler probably doesn't remember me. Maybe that's better. Maybe they're better off not knowing their grandmother is the reason their parents are in prison, or maybe someday they'll understand. Maybe someday they'll learn the truth, and maybe they'll realize that sometimes love means stopping the people you care about from committing murder. I sleep well at night. That surprises people. They think I should be haunted, traumatized, broken, but I'm not. I made the choices I needed to make to survive. I didn't create the situation. I didn't poison the tea. I didn't forge documents or steal money or plan murder. I just refused to die quietly. I refused to be the convenient victim, the confused elderly woman, the easy mark. I fought back with documentation, with evidence, with the law, and I won. I don't hate Michael. I can't afford to. Hate is exhausting, and I'm tired. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I grieve for the son I thought I had, the son who would have protected me instead of trying to kill me. But I don't hate him. I just don't trust him, or love him, or think about him unless I have to. He sends letters sometimes, from prison, apologizing, explaining, begging for forgiveness, claiming he was pressured by Jessica, claiming he never wanted to hurt me, claiming he's a changed man. I don't open them. I send them back marked return to sender, because some betrayals are too deep to forgive. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a smaller life, a quieter life, a life with fewer people but more safety. I'm okay with being the woman who switched the cups, the woman who survived, the woman who sent her own son to prison, because the alternative was being dead. And I chose life. Last week, I taught my class on protecting assets. A woman in the back row was taking notes furiously. After class, she approached me. My son just asked me to refinance my house. She said, he says he needs the money for a business investment, but something feels wrong. Trust that feeling, I told her. Let's look at the paperwork together. We sat in the community center conference room for 2 hours. I reviewed the refinance documents, found the clauses that would have given her son control of the house, found the hidden fees that would have drained her equity, found the trap. Don't sign this, I said. This is a scam. He's trying to steal your house. She cried. I held her hand. I told her it wasn't her fault for trusting her child. Then I helped her prepare. Document collection, attorney consultation, boundaries and consequences. She's going to be okay because someone warned her, someone who'd been through it, someone who survived. That's my mission now. That's my purpose. I am Margaret Chen. I'm 73 years old. My daughter-in-law tried to poison me. I switched cups with her mother and survived. And now I spend every day making sure other people survive too. If you or someone you love is experiencing elder abuse, document everything. Trust your instincts. Seek help immediately. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not being paranoid. You are being targeted and you deserve protection. If this story helped you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear it, because the more we talk about elder abuse, the more we expose the tactics, the harder it becomes for abusers to succeed. My son and daughter-in-law thought age made me weak, thought trust made me blind, thought love made me vulnerable. They were wrong. And anyone else who targets elderly people because they seem like easy victims, they're wrong too. We're not weak, we're experienced. We've survived decades of life. We've faced down challenges you can't imagine, and we're not going down without a fight. I'm Margaret Chen. I survived, and I'm here to help you survive too. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, document everything.